obviously I don't make it over here often enough. But the second one is another plea for help. And I'm looking for help from anyone wandering around Prince William Sound, and I'll show you why. So what we're looking for are volunteers to help us monitoring the intertidal habitat. This is actually a program that was started by Alan Mearns with NOAA. He's been involved with the Exxon Valdez oil spill, and that was the genesis. I'm presenting, and I provided my email. Rob Campbell, Dave Jenka, Brian Robinson have all been contributing in the recent years, but definitely looking for others. Next, please. So like many things that we've talked about here, the origins tie back to the Exxon Valdez oil spill. And what the interest is what's been the recovery from the Exxon Valdez oil spill. Next, please. So the approach that's being used here is just photographs at known locations. Now there's no stakes in the ground out in Prince William Sound, so it's not like these nice new photo stations where you put your phone on it, you take your picture. We kind of figured we want pictures from the lower intertidal, and people would get upset if we put pieces of rebar up in that section, you know, which put your boat on. So there's instructions of where to stand and try to find the rock. And I will say try to find the rock because I have to do that too. We want them at a 0 or a negative tide preferably. And then we analyze these for some of the cover on it, the barnacles, the mussels, and the fucus. Fucus, the popweed. Next, please. And one of the places that you can go look is on osri.us. That's the Oil Spill Recovery Institute. That's who I work for. It's our web page. Under resources, there's two things. There's special reports, and this Three Amigos special report explains how to use just plain photographs to give you an idea of what's happening through time. And it's under the special reports. But in the week between when I sent this presentation over and making it over here, we managed to sneak on the actual photographic time series that I'm going to talk about. So now if you go to that resources tab, you're going to find a time series link. And so you'll be able to drop down and you'll get all the instructions and you'll be able to cycle through the time series. Next, please. So what we're looking at and what Alan started was he started with 9 core sites over here in Western Prince William Sound. There's actually a 10th site that I started at Alan's encouragement, which is from my old office building in the Cordova Harbor. We had some new fill put in, so we started taking pictures of that. So it's not on his photo guide, but there is a 10th time series that's out there. And so if any of these places look familiar, you're going there, you know, I'm definitely looking for you to take a couple of pictures for me and send them back when you get back. Next, please. And this is basically what we have is there's a photo guide that says, here's where I would like you to try to stand and take a picture of these particular rocks. And they're generally, it's some hard feature that we're trying to look at. And this is Bert and Ernie. And Bert definitely gets the most love out of this time series. For some reason, he's photographed more often than Ernie is. I don't know why. But there's instructions, you know, for right now, the one that's labeled number 1, you know, please take Bert and Ernie. That's the highest priority, but there's also interest in other ones. Next, please. Another one is Mearns Rock, named after Alan Mearns, who started this. It's in Snug Harbor on Knight Island. And so again, the photo shows you, okay, stand about here, take a picture of this rock, and we'll go from there. Next, please. Now is when I'm going to test your button pushing skill there, Maya, because we've got 30 some odd years of photographs, and we'll give them a few seconds each. Alan had to point out this is not actually Mearns Rock, but it is in the same area. So this is what it would have looked like in 1989. And what we're going to do is we're going to cycle through the pictures of the rock. And you can figure out when recovery from the oil spill has occurred. So feel free, Maya, give them each about 2 or 3 seconds. Haven't anyone clued in? Have we hit recovery yet? Stop there, please. So the purpose of this exercise wasn't the awkward 2 minutes of silence while we've cycled through photographs, but to give you an idea of how much it changes every year out there. You know, and there's so much information that we can gain from looking at this change through time. One, I don't know when you picked as a year that recovery occurred, because I think almost everyone would pick something different. It's really hard to tell. And it's because there's so much natural variability that when we are judging what recovery looks like, what we actually end up having to do is look at the amount of variability. And when the amount of variability at these sites starts to look like it was prior to the spill, or it becomes stable, that's when we're going to call the ecosystem in that particular area recovered. And that's why it's really important to have these time series, because you always hear we need a baseline. A baseline tends to be one picture. It does not account for all of this variability. So a real baseline is like 30 pictures where you can go, okay, this is the range of things that I can expect. And that's what I need to be able to recover back to. So this is a very inexpensive way. If we can convince people to take pictures for us, it's a really inexpensive way for us to be able to understand what the natural variability is. And with that, we can better understand recovery from major events, because a lot of the times you saw the rock was bare. It probably, during the winter, there was ice coming out. It happened to scrape along that rock just right, scraped everything off, and it had to start over. So there's a lot of little things that occur. Next, please. But what we'll do is we'll look at some of the major things that are growing on the rock, like the popweed, that fucus. We'll look at the mussels, and we'll try to quantify what the percent coverage is. And then we can look at how that fluctuates through time so that we can get an idea of what natural variability looks like and what is that full range of actual conditions. Next, please. And what happens when you look at a lot of different sites at the same time is you find that they all pretty much behave a little bit differently. There's a few spikes where you'd say, yeah, the fucus did really well this year, but quite often you're going to see that it's going to respond differently in different spots. And this is also very important. How do you pick I have a site that I'm going to use as my comparison site that, I'm going to use this as a unimpacted site. So it's going to be my judge for recovery. Well, even that's hard to do because the variability within each of these sites can be very different. So there's a lot that we can learn from these pictures. And, again, this is really a plea for people to get out there who are out there anyway, and I'm looking for Tim because I saw him talk about going down for marine debris stuff. And I think he was talking somewhere near 5, and so, if you're wandering that direction, pull up the photo guide and go, hey, I'd appreciate turning in a picture or two. And again, it's that osri.us. You go to the resources, there's a time series, and it's going to have the picture guide. It's going to tell you, this is what the picture we'd like you to take. And it's also, that website has how to submit a photo. So you can just submit the photo, give the information. And with that, it sends it to me. I'm the one that reviews them all. I archive the photo in a spot where it can be used for science purposes, but it also then goes into this time series. And what you're seeing now is it's an annual picture because that's what we've been working at. We'd love to have higher resolution pictures. What does it look like through the season? Most of these are kind of midsummer pictures. So again, please, if you need, reach out to me at wspegau@pwssc.org or go to that osri.us and look for the time series and get that information because I'd love to hear from you. Ooh, 1 minute over. You could have flagged me. Thanks.